I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume. So I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. So we are continuing with the Gospels again. We've been reading various stories that are in multiple Gospels. And so Christ, he went down to the Passover just shortly after his baptism. And while there, the Jews don't like him, form a conspiracy to kill him, so he is now back in Galilee. He has called a number of men to join him in the ministry. He has started preaching. He is rejected in Nazareth. People are astounded at his doctrine in Capernaum. He then casts out unclean spirits. He heals Peter's mother-in-law, does all these miracles, and we are now starting, well, we've already started his ministry. He's been preaching, but so we continue his ministry. We're going to read this in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and we're just going to read them in order. Matthew, then Mark, then Luke. In this video, we have a Joseph Smith translation. Now, what the Joseph Smith translation is, this is a translation or correction done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that have been lost or corrupted over the years. Matthew chapter 4, verses 23 through 25. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. And his fame went throughout all Syria, and they brought unto him all sick people that were taken with diverse diseases and torments, and those which were possessed with devils, and those which were lunatic, and those that had the palsy, and he healed them. And there followed him great multitudes of people from Galilee, and from Decapolis, and from Jerusalem, and from Judea, and from beyond Jordan. So this is just kind of a summary of his ministry here in Galilee. He's traveling all over, in all the towns of Galilee. When it says Syria, that's just a little north, that's just north of Galilee. It talks about coming out of Jerusalem and Judea, and also beyond Jordan. This would be on the east of Jordan. Jerusalem, Judea, that's west of Jordan. Beyond Jordan means all those east of Jordan are also there. And people are coming from all these areas to hear Christ and to be healed. They hear of his great power of healing, and they're bringing people to him. They're flocking to him. But it does seem that a lot of it is they're flocking to him for the miracles. But it's just a summary of what's going on. Nothing details. So let us look at the Joseph Smith translation for it. So all three of these verses have corrections to them. Only verse 23 has one that actually has some significance to it, though. In verse 24, first of all, he changes which to who. So those which were possessed with devils is changed to those who were possessed with devils. Very simple grammatical update. In verse 25, when it lists all the lands, in the King James it says, from Galilee, from Decapolis, from Jerusalem. In the Joseph Smith translation, he just takes out all the extra from. So, from Galilee and Decapolis and Jerusalem and Judea and beyond Jordan, we don't need those extra froms in there. They're all redundant. But in verse 23, we do have this at the end. It says, and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. That's the King James. Joseph Smith gives us this. And healing all manner of sickness and all manner of diseases among the people which believed on his name. So he's not healing random people. He's not healing everybody. He's healing those who have the faith to be healed. That is a significant clarification there. So now, let us turn to Mark. Mark chapter 1, verses 35 through 39. And in the morning, rising up a great while before day, he went out and departed into a solitary place, and there prayed. And Simon and they that were with him followed after him. And when they had found him, they said unto him, all men seek for thee. And he said unto them, let us go into the next towns, that I may preach there also. For therefore came I forth. And he preached in their synagogues throughout all Galilee, and cast out devils. Now this is an interesting account of this. This is the next day. He's just healed Peter's mother-in-law, and as soon as sun went down, they brought all these people in Capernaum to be healed. And early the next morning, before anybody else is up, he goes out to pray off by himself. The disciples come and find him, and they say, look, people are looking for you. And Christ says, well, let's go to another town. I've preached here, let us spread the word. Let us spread the gospel. And so they go out preaching. I like that this gives us a little bit of what was going on just before Christ started this preaching. Both of them just summarize the actual ministry that's going on in Galilee, but I like Mark's little introduction to it. I find that Mark is the one that's trying to show Christ as being human. He's showing the human side of Christ. And that's what this does. This shows us Christ, he wanted to be alone. He's been around people. Even when he called Peter and James and all them to the ministry, he first had them push out in the boat away from shore so he could get away from the crowd. He's wanting some solitude. He's wanting some time to be alone with his Father in heaven. This is a very humanizing thing. This is showing Christ as very much human, having human desires and emotions. He's a little drained from all the crowds and all the healing, all the miracles he's been doing. He just wants a little alone time. Now we read the Joseph Smith translation. Let us see, what do we have here? Now, as it is, there are actually no Joseph Smith translations for this portion of Mark, so we will continue straight on to Luke. Luke is in chapter 4, verses 42 through 44. And when it was day, he departed and went into a desert place, and the people sought him and came unto him and stayed him, that he should not depart from them. And he said unto them, I must preach the kingdom of God to other cities also, for therefore am I sent. And he preached in the synagogues of Galilee. The people don't want him to leave. The people are coming in. The disciples come out and tell him the people are seeking him. As the others, people want you to come back and teach them a little more, talk to them some more. And he says, well, I got to go teach other people too. I can't focus just on one city. I'm sent to all Israel. And so I've got to preach to all Israel. Very short, very simple. Doesn't really give us anything new that we didn't read first in Matthew or Mark. Let us just see if we've got any Joseph Smith translation here. Okay, so in verse 42, changes desert place to solitary place. And when it says came unto him and stayed him, it is and desired him. Just some clarifications here, makes it make a little more sense. And in verse 43, we just take out, we replace and with but. So it's instead of and he said unto them, I must preach the kingdom of God to other cities also. It's but he said unto them, I must preach the kingdom of God to other cities also. So when they asked him to stay with them, he said no, but he couldn't do it. They wanted him to stay, but he couldn't. Minor grammatical updates again. So we leave that here, and we have one more video combining multiple Gospels before we get into single Gospel videos again. So I will see you there.